Okay, so I wanted to comment briefly on this Federal Reserve situation. The entire Federal Reserve basically shut down the ability to send wire transfers or to receive ACHs. So banks literally couldn't do pretty much anything when it came to sending wires or receiving wires for clients or sending or receiving them themselves. So what does that mean? What does that mean as a whole for the dollar? What does that mean as a whole for Bitcoin and decentralized assets? There's so much smoke and mirrors going on right now. It's just mind-boggling to me. It's like up is down, down is up, sideways is up, sideways is down. Like so much smoke and mirrors going on right now. When you listen to Jerome Powell speak, or if you listen to Janet Yellen speak, you listen to them and you think that they are like our leaders, when it comes to our monetary policies, and you just start scratching your head. And so I had to change my set. If you guys are used to my set, all my fellow silver squirrels out there, I had to change the setup a little bit and put my Banksy little copy right there of the Banksy Monkeys of Parliament piece of art there. I feel like it was only so suiting. I feel like I had to change the setup a little bit, and it's very suiting. Put a big bar on the desk, please. All right. We got one right here. Here we go, guys. For my fellow silver squirrels out there, we put a bar on the desk. We'll put a bar down over here. All right. There we go. You would think that when the news comes out, how is this even possible is my first question, because you got to understand that the Federal Reserve doesn't run on a blockchain. It doesn't run on like a foolproof system like Bitcoin does. The Federal Reserve, for them to shut down like this, and this also ties back into a little bit ago, I made a video saying, I support my buddy over at, I've never done a video with him. I've never spoke with him, but I like this Arcadia Economics channel. I think he's got some great guests on there. He talks a lot about silver. I love silver. We all on this channel seem to love silver. So I said, hey, I support this guy. He's going through a real rough patch right here. He's, put out a couple videos where it seems like he's going through a rough patch, and I want you guys publicly know that I support this guy. I got a lot of it's crazy, the internet, is you get people commenting like conspiracies and weird stuff saying, oh, this guy actually works for the bank and this and that. And so I'm like, okay, I can't even show support for somebody when he's going through a rough situation over there. Yes, the banks have generators. But should they have their lights on even if they have a generator, when everybody else is struggling? That's the real question. Should they have the lights on? It's basically like nobody wants to see, if you're hungry, nobody wants to watch you eating in front of them. Regardless if you have generators or whatever's going on in the banks over there, it's kind of like spitting in people's faces when you leave your lights on and everybody else doesn't have their electricity. And that was the whole situation, the reason why Chris did what he did, I think. Even if they have their generators, whatever, it's still not cool to leave your power running in your parking garage when everybody else is struggling. That was the whole point of it. So, but that actually ties into this situation with the Federal Reserve. So if you have banks that have their generators and everything like that, how is the Federal Reserve able to actually just say, yeah, we can't do anything right now for a whole 3 hours. We're out of luck. We can't do anything. It's just, we're shut down. This is a rare situation here. And we just can't do any wires for anybody for a whole 3 hours. But what about like your generators? What about your what happened here? What exactly is the story? And nobody's really told the whole story. It's just we're just supposed to believe, okay, well, the entire United States dollar monetary system, we can't send wires or receive ACHs for a full 3 hours, and we just no real information on this. Like, what? So, and then we don't see this reflect in Bitcoin yet. We don't see this reflect in gold and silver yet, which is mind-boggling to me. If there was one reason to not want to keep your money in a bank, it would be a flash crash of having no possible ability of getting your money out. Like, what? That is crazy. Crazy that we are expected to just go, yeah, we can't get our money. We can't send a wire out. And if we go to our bank and ask for the money to be given us in cash, that's not going to happen. Especially if it's in quantity. If it's like you need to get 100 grand out of the bank really quick, the only way to really get 100 grand out of the bank really quick is to send a wire. And you're telling me you can just shut down and make it so we can't do wires? I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors going on here. And the fact that the dollar index is still remaining over 90 is very odd to me. The fact that silver is still suppressed is very odd to me. This should have even affected gold. And you guys know that I'm more bullish on silver than I am on gold. This should have affected gold as well, but we didn't see much of an effect at all. So like I said, it's like what's down is up and up is down. And, you know, how in the world is the dollar index remaining strong when situations like this happened? You know, is this, you know, something that could happen again in the future? And why did it happen? And how can we make sure that this never happens again? You know, it makes no sense to me. And so I wanted to go live and really talk about what I think this means and what I'm doing to prepare about this possible situation happening again. And the ultimate goal of my channel is to help everybody and to bring some awareness into situations like this. And again, this is just my opinion of the situation. All my videos are just my opinion, not to be taken as advice. You know, I have to say that disclaimer. Could be wrong about something, anything said on this channel. But this situation to me is not something that I'm willing to just go, oh yeah, whatever. Just the entire payment system for all the banks in the entire, you know, United States, we're just not able to send wires. You know, we're just whatever, no big deal. Like, I'm not willing to do that. I'm not willing to just say like, yeah, it's whatever. You know, and then on top of it, to add insult to injury, you got Jerome Powell recently talking about, yeah, you know, we printed a roughly $13 trillion in a year and a half. And yeah, it's not going to affect inflation. There's this, and yada, yada about that and this and that. It's not going to, it's whatever, you know, yeah, whatever. It's like, what? Inflation doesn't exist when you print this much more than gold's they printed more than gold and silver's entire market cap in a year and a half. And you're going to tell me inflation doesn't exist? That it's just all fine and dandy, and then just a little bit after you make those statements, the entire Federal Reserve system shuts down? Okay, Janet Yellen. Okay, Jerome Powell. Fed printer go burr, Fred printer go burr, and no questions asked from us over here. No questions asked from us. And yeah, gold and silver just stays suppressed while all of this is going on. So I wanted to remind people, if you have over 250,000 in a bank, it's not insured. It's not insured. And if their monetary system crashes and you can't get your money out and they don't even allow you to send a wire transfer, well, what do you do? I'm asking you because I don't know what you would do in that situation. I mean, I'm genuinely asking you, what would you do there? I don't know what we would do. It's crazy to me. Absolute crazy to me. Some people say Bitcoin isn't a fail-proof system, but this can't happen to Bitcoin because Bitcoin is actually a decentralized network of individual miners across the entire world, where the system doesn't rely on somebody to just say, oh yeah, we're shut down. You know, it's like, it's also a reminder that this is just us trusting a digital number on a screen. When something like this happens where the Federal Reserve can just shut down like this and say, yeah, we can't do any wires, no ACHs, it really brings to the surface that when we check our bank account on our phone, that this isn't a blockchain. This isn't money that is like actually there. It's just a number on a screen. And if there's anything that really brings that to the surface, it's this type of a situation happening here. That this is just a number on a screen. And at any given moment, something crazy like this could happen. If there was one, it's just so crazy to me because if you went back like 5 years to, if I could go and visit myself 5 years ago and say, hey, Rob, well, you know, there's going to be a lot of stuff happening in 2020. Let me tell you, the entire world is pretty much going to be shut down to a really unfortunate situation. The dollar is going to get printed more than gold and silver's entire market cap at that time. Within a year and a half, they're going to print more than gold and silver's entire market cap combined. And just went over all these situations. Yeah, the Fed can shut down like this, all this stuff going on. I'd be like, okay, so gold's at 10,000, right? Silver's at like 200, 300, right? No, actually, silver's only at 27, 28. And, you know, gold is under 2,000 still. It's like 1,700, 1,800. You would think that with everything going on right now, there would be a major lack of trust for the dollar. a major lack of trust for the banking institutions. The entire monetary system as a whole, there's going to be a lack of trust for it, and people are going to be jumping into precious metals and decentralized assets. You would think that that would be what happens here. And we have seen, Bitcoin holding over 30,000. Let's just put the bar way low. It's pretty impressive. We're seeing it in Bitcoin. But I'm surprised that this type of news didn't affect precious metals and it didn't affect Bitcoin. And I think that we will see the effects slowly but surely after the smoke and mirrors kind of fade away. And so the best thing that I can do right now is plan out my next 36 months, plan out my next year even, plan out what do I think assets are going to do in the long term versus the short term, because in the short term, things don't make very much sense here. You would think this kind of news would make people want to get out of the dollar as fast as they're able to get a wire transfer. You would expect for them to be wire transferring their Coinbases or their Gemini accounts or their, Webull or wherever they're putting their money to get out of the dollar and invest that money. And then on top of it, the stock market goes down. And so, that might have been an effect of this. People wanting to get out of the stock market to get into safe havens and actually get control of their assets, whether they're getting into real estate, whether they're building a business with their money, whether they're putting it in gold and silver, whether they're putting it in Bitcoin. If there was a time to be getting out of the dollar, it would be now. It would be like a month ago, 3 months ago, 6 months ago, not even now, like a while ago. But while there's time, you would think, okay, well, if I have 200 grand, let's say, in the bank right now, and I just saw that they could actually, I wouldn't even think this was possible. I wouldn't have even thought the situation was possible. But to think, okay, well, they can just shut down and I can't get my money out. You can't go to the bank. If every single citizen went to the bank right now at the same time and said, hey, I need to get my money out. I'm real scared about what's going on right now. I need to get my money. What do you think they would do? They have that money invested. They don't have it sitting in a vault in the back. Your money isn't sitting in some vault in the back of the bank. It's not there. This isn't a reserve bank. I talk about the difference between a reserve bank and these commercial banks, and there's a big difference. The difference is in a reserve bank, the money's actually in the vault, and you got to pay them for being the custodian and holding your money. This situation that we have, when you give your money to a commercial bank, you're giving them your money for a free loan pretty much. That's what's happening. You're going, hey, you want a free loan? Here's my money. Hold on to that. Okay, yeah, we'll hold on to that. Okay, yeah, guys, let's go and short, GameStop. Like, that's pretty much what happens at these big banks. Yeah, this guy just gave us money, that guy just gave us money, and they just gave us money, and we don't have to hold anything in the vault. Actually, we can multiply their money and give out as much loans as we want, make money off of loans, and then we can also use their money against them in the stock market. It's just, the system we have is insane. Absolute insanity. It makes no sense. And I just wanted to make a brief comment on this situation here because it's not something that goes over my head. And if there was anything that would give us, some enlightenment on what's going to happen with the dollar in the future, it's thinking to ourselves, wait a minute. This all doesn't make sense. This all doesn't make sense right now. The dollar index should not be up where it is. There is a lack of trust in the dollar, not only by the citizens, but by the entire world. You hear about countries saying, hey, we're getting out of the dollar, we're getting out of the dollar. The whole system being able to be shut down, I know it was only for 3 hours, right? But just the fact that it could happen. If that happened with Bitcoin, it would plummet. It would plummet. If there was a situation where it got front page news, this bank tried to send their Bitcoin to that bank and it didn't even get confirmed on the system and they lost all their Bitcoin. If that happened, Bitcoin would plummet. If it failed once, it's never failed. There's been false news that comes out about a situation where there was like a double pay situation, but there wasn't, and it was just false news. That has happened in the past and that wasn't true. But if there was real news of Bitcoin being able to be shut down for 3 hours, where nobody could send their Bitcoin to anybody, yeah, that would really affect Bitcoin. But here we see a situation where it didn't affect the dollar at all. Or we're supposed to believe that. I am hard pressed to think that this little pullback in the stock market, because I'm going to call it a little pullback for what it is. It's not very much of a pullback at all. If we see what should happen, the stock market should plummet because people are getting their money, out of, it's a game of hot potato. I've always called it a game of hot potato. That's really what I've considered the stock market, and the dollar is a game of hot potato. Who's going to get left with the scathing hot potato? So scary. So scary, the situation. And I don't mean to just like rile people up and get people overly, excited about this stuff, but it's hard not to let this affect you. It's hard for this not to think like, okay, well, yeah, I really trust a system that can just tell me I can't get my money out. I really trust that system. It's just the possibility, the fact that this was even possible to happen is something I want to spread awareness to. What the difference between a reserve bank and the current fractional reserve banking system that we have, being at 0% on the interest rates. They're not going to raise the interest rates. If anything, they're going to go into negative interest rates. If anything, they're going to go into negative interest rates because it's just insanity. And then to see Jerome Powell like keep a straight face and say the things that he said, it makes no sense to me. It makes no sense to me. And it's only a matter of time before we see the smoke and mirrors really kind of start fading away and show the actual reality of what's going on right now. And the reality is the dollar is not strong. And this is my opinion. Again, I could be wrong, not financial advice. Disclaimer. The reality of the situation is the dollar isn't strong. The dollar is diluted. Fiat currency as a whole is at jeopardy right now, and I think the public is starting to get awareness that they don't actually control their money. If their money is in the stock market, if their money is in the banks, they don't really control their money. And we're starting to realize that this money isn't on a blockchain. It's not actually there. It's just a number on a screen on outdated technology. And if this was even capable of happening, if this situation where the entire Fed wire system was shut down and nobody, how much damage that does to businesses, even if it's just a 3-hour period, it's hard to even put a number on how much damages that can do. And this also draws back to the criticisms that I had of saying, oh, well, the banks have generators and that's why their lights were on and this and that. Well, what happened here, everybody? You tell me the Fed doesn't have generators? Like, how did this even happen? How did this even happen? Yeah, I have no real rhyme or reason to be making this video other than just putting my opinion out there on what I think of this and the fact that it hasn't shown in the precious metals markets yet. And it hasn't shown in Bitcoin yet. It hasn't shown its true colors. Cathie Wood recently went public and said, hey, this should be really affecting Bitcoin. I would be surprised to see Bitcoin not get into the trillions, the multi-trillions because of something like this. This is not something I take lightly myself. I look at it and I go, I can't believe that this was even capable of happening. What kind of system do you have where basically the entire monetary system of the dollar shuts down for a period of time? Like that shouldn't even be possible. It shouldn't even be possible. But wow, someone gave me $50. Elijah, thank you, man. He says, God bless you, brother. Thank you for what you do. Hit my 1,000-ounce gold today and feeling good. Elijah hits 1,000 ounces of silver today. Elijah Ray is, hey, right on, Elijah. Congratulations, man. RMD123, does that apply to holding money with brokers as well? I'm not sure I understand the question, RMD123. Well, I think I do. I mean, a broker is technically a bank in a sort. If you have your money at Coinbase, or if you have your money with TD Ameritrade, or you have your money with Robinhood or something, they're considered your broker or an exchange. And so, I mean, your money is in dollars there and being stored in dollars there that aren't really getting any interest there. I mean, yeah, I would say it does affect that because you have your money in dollars. I mean, if they're saying that you can't shut down, and by the way, I appreciate that, RMD. Thank you for the $5, man. I appreciate that, man. I would say yes, it affects that because you have to take that money out of an exchange or your broker house. You have to move it into a bank account. So when you move it into your bank account, the situation is the system is designed so that all the citizens, the system is designed with the expectation that all the citizens that are holding their money in these banks won't just overnight go, I want my money. All of us want our money right now. We don't really trust the system anymore. We want our money out right now. They're not going to be able to provide that. They're not going to be able to provide that because that money is invested. That money is given out as loans. They're overextended. They have the major problem here is cash flow. You know, the banks are using your cash and leveraging your cash against you and overextending themselves with the expectation that nobody's going to ask for their money back. At least they're not going to ask for their money back at the same time so that they have time to play the shuffling act behind the scenes and get people their money when they ask. I mean, it's I've said this in the past, you know, and this is just my opinion, but there's the only difference between the banking system and Bernie Madoff is one of them has better friends. I've said it in the past. It's been a quote that I've said many times now. It's like the only difference between the two is one of them just had better friends than the other one, and one of them got caught sooner. You know, like not much of a difference there, you know, because if everybody asked for their money back at the same time, we'd have a problem. We'd have a major problem. The video is a little laggy. Yeah, it's showing me on my screen. It says the stream's current bit rate is lower than recommended bit rate. I wonder what that is. I have it on low latency. Hopefully it can catch up with itself. I have pretty good internet here too. Let's get to some questions here. Let me know if the video quality is okay. I'm trying. Some people are saying it's a little laggy, but I'm trying not to touch anything on my computer because that might get it messed up. But let me try to answer some questions here. I'm looking at comments. The comments are popping up. I wanted to keep this live stream short and to the point and just put my opinion out there. And my ultimate opinion is I think that this is a major telling sign for what's ahead of the dollar. It's a major telling sign that people are going to want to get out of the dollar and put their money into decentralized assets, whether that be precious metals, whether that be collectibles, whether that be their own business, real estate, or, you know, Bitcoin. It could be all of these things. And the truth is, you know, I've always thought, even prior to any of this happening over the past year and a half now, I've always thought that there's a major problem with our current banking system and the dollar as a whole, but this is just really bringing it to the surface. This happening, something like this going on, is just bringing it all to the surface. And it's scary to see it. It's scary to see it. And I mean, my ultimate situation, my ultimate thoughts on it is I have more conviction on buying decentralized assets, buying silver, buying gold, buying platinum, buying Bitcoin. Specifically for me, it's silver, platinum, Bitcoin are my top holdings, but I have more conviction than ever. And I think eventually the true cards have to show. You know, this is only the beginning, I think, you know, and just that it could even happen. Because the system, it's not a system where like something like this is really, you're talking about money created out of thin air and printed money and all the fiat system. How is it possible for a system that is just a number on a screen to be able to be shut down? You know, like, how is that even possible? This isn't like it shouldn't have been possible in the first place. I'm being repetitive, but I'm still shaken up by it. And it's hard for me to, you know, rationalize what happened, and it'd be scary. Could you imagine if it shut down for a week? Like, this was just 3 hours, you know? Could you imagine what would happen if the entire monetary system was shut down for a week and nobody could send a wire or receive a wire for a whole week? Like, what would that do? You want to talk about a real, like, catastrophe on the economy. Could you imagine if all the banks weren't allowed to send wires or receive wires or send ACHs or receive ACHs for a whole week? Has that even been a thought in our mind that was even possible? You know, this 3 hour shutdown, it brings it to the surface that this is a reality and it's possible. It's wild. It's wild. In my personal opinion, Kevin Monroy says, can this happen to Bitcoin? I don't think it could. I don't think it could, because it's not reliant upon one organization to be operating trillions and trillions of dollars in capital. It's reliant on an entire ecosystem of decentralized miners to process these transactions. So if all the electricity was off in the US, well, the electricity would be on in China, the electricity would be on in Russia, the electricity would be on in the UK, or it would be on somewhere where these miners are, and the network would still be in operation. You know, maybe it would take a little bit longer on the confirmation for the Bitcoin. When you send Bitcoin, you first see you see the Bitcoin hit your account, but it's not confirmed yet. It has to go through the confirmation process, but you would still see it. So it wouldn't actually shut down. If say like a bunch of the miners got shut down, no, the system would still be in operation. This wouldn't be capable of happening. And as Bitcoin continues to get adopted, there's going to be more and more miners to be able to process the transactions. So you have a system in place. It's very elegant in comparison to all of it being trusted within one organization here. And I really didn't think that something like this was possible. And the thing about, I always think of Murphy's Law. If it can happen, it will happen. And could the Fed wire system get shut down for a whole week? That's something in my mind. Could it actually, imagine oh, hey, we have a problem, guys, and we can't send wires out for a whole week. Even if it was a day, this was only 3 hours, and it really affected a lot of businesses out there. Imagine it was a week. Imagine it was a month. It's like, it's scary to me. It's scary to me. Something to think about, and I hope that they get it together, and I hope that they're able to send some sort of real information out there saying, hey, we own up to this happening, and we've done this, and that to make sure it never happens again, sort of thing. Regardless of that, I would still be wanting to be in precious metals and have my money in safe haven assets right now at this current time. But they need to get on some sort of blockchain system. They need to have something in place so that this can't happen again. And to think that I think the dollar on the same day went up, like the dollar index went up when all this was happening. And it's just so hard for me to believe that. So like I said, I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors here. What do you all think in the comments? Let's get through to a couple more comments. Let's get to a couple more of these comments here. I want to keep this video short. We're going to end it at 30 minutes or something. I'm at 27 minutes right now, so I'll keep it short. Do you think it will be a peaceful economic crash? I mean, I don't know if there's such thing as a peaceful economic crash. You know, I think it is at a slow moving pace right now, but I don't know if there's any such thing. Store your peanuts now. I agree with that. I agree that right now is the time to put together your thesis. Don't get caught up in the hype. Don't get caught up in the FOMO. Make a thesis and stick to that thesis. My personal thesis is decentralized assets and sitting on it. You know, that's my personal thesis. I think that decentralized assets are so undervalued right now. And I think more and more people are going to be looking to get out of the dollar. It's an interesting time. It's hard for me to say exactly what to do. I don't know exactly what to do, but what I'm doing right now personally is what I can say. I can't give out advice on my channel. I can only say what I'm doing personally. And what I'm doing personally is I don't really want too much money in the banking system myself. You know, especially because they're not even paying me to keep it there. I mean, I might have a little bit of incentive if the interest rates were like 5% or something, so they could at least, you know, compete with inflation by leaving my money in these banks. But they just completely rip me off. I give my money to a bank and I give them a free loan. It's like, why would I let them hold my cash flow like that? If their system can shut down for 3 hours, their system can shut down. B, they don't insure my money over $250,000, and C, they don't even give me any interest on my money. So it's like, why would do you want me to be your friend when every time I see you, I get punched in the face? Like, no, I'm not going to be your friend. You punch me in my face every time I see you. I don't want to be your friend. Like, what do you mean? Like, it's like, what? How could you be friends with that kind of institution. It's like, yeah, I walk in your doors, you punch me in the face. I walk in my doors, you punch me in the face. It's like, yeah, I'm not really interested in being friends with you. RMD123 says, that's what I meant. Thanks for the answer. Bitcoin has many flaws like any other form of value. If not, many of us are very poorly educated about it. And I am too. I'm still learning as I make these videos. I'm learning as I go along. I'm not like some guru or something, you know. I'm on the journey with you, and I'm sharing everything that I learn along the way. And so it's a very new thing, Bitcoin. I mean, I know it's been around for 13 years, but the system in place of having a decentralized mining system, when they use the term miners, I've even in the past said this, that it's a sliding scale of wire transfers where you can pay more money to move your wire transfer faster, or you can pay less money to move your wire transfer slower through the decentralized system. You know, I would like the option to do that, which is brilliant. So in this situation here, if there was a 3-hour shutdown or something with Bitcoin, you could pay more money. If you really needed to move your money, you could pay more money and it would move quicker than, you know, if you paid less. So if you wanted to move, 100 grand with Bitcoin, and you said, okay, well, I really don't want to do this, but I need this 100 grand to get to the other person. So I'm willing to pay 1%. Keep in mind, PayPal's 3%. So 1% on 100,000 would be 1,000. So that's a lot of money to spend on moving money around. But if that 100,000 was sent via PayPal, you would get 97,000 on the other end. We pay 3% for the payment to be moved. So it's something to take into consideration. But if you wanted that money to still go instantaneously within the Bitcoin network, I would imagine even paying like $400 to the network or $500 to the network, it would go extremely fast. Versus you could pay, you know, $10 to move 100 grand in Bitcoin, but it might take a week or two. So there's that situation where you can move the money faster based on the sliding scale of how much, you know, Satoshis you're willing to pay the distributed network to move that Bitcoin, which is like, it's brilliant. They couldn't just say, yeah, we're shut down. No, the network is still operational. As long as there's electricity somewhere on the planet, the system is in operation. So you can't really shut it down. Which is like, if there's one thing that really draws awareness to Bitcoin, it would be something like this. It would be something like this, because you're paying again, you're paying on a sliding scale based on how fast you want your money to be moved within the network. With this situation with the Fed shutting down, it was just shut down, period. The Fed didn't care if you paid them more money than the $35 wire transfer fee. They didn't care. It's just a shutdown, period. Which is, it's very scary to think that is even possible. But I've rambled enough, everybody. I wanted to talk about this situation and put my 2 cents out there. I appreciate everybody for coming into the live feed. I appreciate all your comments. Comments are always open on my videos, so please leave a comment down below. If you could, would really appreciate it if you smash that like button. It really does help with the YouTube algorithm if you could smash the like button. Really, really appreciate that. I know I say it every video, but really would appreciate it if you could smash the like button. But I just wanted to shed some awareness on this. And I think that the effects haven't played out. And we will see them play out over time. And the best thing that you can do right now, or what I'm doing right now rather, is I have to say what I'm doing, you know, it's not financial advice, is prepare for the next year, prepare for the next 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. Think more ahead of time, because the most money that can be made is usually by sitting on your hands with a well thought out thesis. What is that thesis? That's up for you to make out your own mind about. For me, it is going into decentralized assets and finding out what happens next, you know, because I just didn't even think that this type of thing was possible. So appreciate you all for being here. Thank you again so much for tuning in. See you at the next video. Signing out.